level or beam the fix, whichever one comes first, for 1 minute. That's how I get my gauge. I time the outbound for 1 minute initially, see what the inbound ends up being, and then I adjust my outbound to then coincide. Okay? So then I just take 60 minus 20, 40 seconds. You know what? I started my time a little bit off. So we go outbound 40 seconds, come back around, and it only took us a minute 20 still. How much am I over by? 20. Divided by 2? So now I would then adjust 40 minus another 10, and I would only go outbound 30. Because at that point what happened was you probably started your time at the wrong point or something like that happened. So then you would adjust it, but initially you're adjusting from a 1 minute outbound leg.
So is the Jepson really going to be that off if it's that close? Like if we're only off by...
It'll take you a minimum of 3 laps in the hold to finally get it accurate. Whereas if you do it this way, you only have to do it once. It'll get you within like 5-10 seconds. The Jeppesen method will get you within 20 to 30 seconds the first time. It brackets. So the Jeppesen method actually gets you there in three loops. How often do you actually do 3 loops in a hold? Not very often unless you're a jet holding for weather. And at that point, you've got autopilot on anyway. Okay? So, very, very easy. Do this in the simulator with them. Give them some wicked wins. You'll be amazed in the simulator. If they start their time and everything perfect, it literally will come out within 3 seconds. Okay? Because that's all it is. It's just math. The effects of wind are double. Okay? Okay, so I go inbound, and it only takes me 45. Whoops. It only takes me 45 seconds to go inbound. So I'm short. How much am I short by?
15 divided by 2, add it.
15.
Times it by 2.
Ah, I need to make it bigger. So I times it by 2
30.
and add it. Adding and timesing makes things bigger. So that's the memory aid. If I got to make it bigger, I need to make it bigger by 15 seconds. 15 times 2. I'm going to go outbound a minute 30. Now you've got to do this on the ground with them so that they understand it and it just comes that quick. And now when you go flying, they don't have to think about anything. If you try introducing this to them in the plane, it's going to be a real murderous situation. Okay? Yeah, it is too much. But if they understand the concept, then it's very easy in the plane. I did this with 6 of my students, and none of them ever had a problem with it because literally we talked about it on the ground. We did several examples using Tim's AirNav simulator. It was never an issue after that because they knew how to do it. They just looked at it and said, I need 15 seconds, times it by 2 and add it, I'm going out by 130. Questions? One more? Inbound only takes 25 seconds.
35.
So I'm short by 35?
70.
Times by 2? I'm going to go outbound 210. Okay? So it does take a couple, it's just like any math class. After you work through 5 problems or something, it sticks in your head. That's what you got to do with your students. Work through some problems, get it in there. Okay, so that's timing. But now we got crosswinds. Okay? If you know where your wind is, on an entry procedure, if you already know where your wind is, the rule of thumb is turn 10 to 15 degrees into the wind on your entry procedure. So consciously you have to be like, okay, turn to the magic number, my wind's from the west, I'm going to turn an extra 10 degrees to the west. Okay? So this is where being a pilot, you've got to know where you are, what's going on. Know what your winds are before you hit that hold. On a G1000 you have no excuse because it gives you your wind. Okay? So now we're going to correct it though. Wind correction on our holding pattern. If I had a nice, awesome wind like that, and I was to do this holding pattern, I would turn outbound to my magic number, right? And right here my ground speed would be higher, fast. So it would be huge. This is a standard rate turn. Then I'd turn to my magic number, and I'd get blown out like that. I'd be heading like that, but I'd get blown out there. Now I'm going to turn inbound, right? Standard rate. What happens to my ground speed? How's it looking?
Slightly off.
Slightly off. Okay? That's literally what will happen though, with no correction. Okay, so the rule is, and this is why it's so important to get established on the inbound course. The faster I can get on this inbound course, the faster I can figure out my wind correction angle. I'm holding a 10-degree correction. What do I do on the outbound? I triple it. Okay? Now let's talk about why. The effects of wind are
Triple.
double.
Then you're coming back.
So what you're doing is, you're already holding 10, right? What's double 10? And add it. 30. Isn't that the same thing as tripling it? Tripling it's a lot easier than saying doubling it and adding it.
Or divided by 2 and then times by 6.
Alright, so you're going to triple it.
Okay.
Okay, that's the rule. When they ask you, if they say, well, why do we triple it? You say, well, we're not. We're just taking 10 times it by 2. We're doubling it. 10 plus 20 is 30. Okay? Now, I'm holding a 10-degree correction to the west. Once again, we never refer to left and right. So when I get on the outbound, I'm going to hold a 30-degree correction to the west, which is actually going to put me in like this, because that next turn is going to be a very slow ground speed, and it'll put me right onto course.
I didn't register. Don't burn down or anything like that.
Good.
The building, I thought it was going to fall down.
Oh.
Do you feel that?
Yeah, I haven't registered yet either.
It's Mario's new
They're not
toy
gonna
or
know.
something.
Okay.
He's building a new floor screw.
So all I do is triple it. Easy enough? Let's change the wind. Now I've got my wind from over here. It's going to do just the opposite now. If I did a standard rate turn, it would be small, slow ground speed. Out. I'd actually get drifted over probably across my course. Now I'm really hosed.
And there's the old deer trot entry.
And here you go. This would be like a figure 8, because then you'd be like on a small one again.
You'd figure it out.
You'd be totally hosed at that point, yeah. So you're just doing figure 8s in the sky, and now the student's really confused. So once again, if I'm holding 10 and I'm going out, triple it to the
East.
30 degrees out to the east, puts me out here. Now when I turn around with that big ground speed, it pulls me right in. Okay? Now, we fly awesome aircraft that have some exceptional capabilities. Teach them to do this though, to figure out their wind correction angle. That's what you should have been doing all through stage 1, is figuring out my wind correction angle and being able to track VOR courses, okay? So now we're in stage 2. Well, let's teach them how to use all of their equipment. What do you have in your aircraft that would allow you to establish a proper wind correction angle within 5 seconds?
Purple connector.
Or what?
That little purple thing on the heading indicator on the G1000.
Which is what?
the purple dot that shows the wind.
It's my track diamond.
There you go.
Okay? I would use the track diamond, and you could look at that, and that would give you the same information. But if you look up at your track, so I turn outbound to my magic number of 160, I look up and my track says 154. How many degrees of correction am I going to need when I intercept my course inbound? I'm done. I don't even have to think about anything. So now when I turn inbound, I know that I'm going to have a 6-degree correction.
I'm not very familiar with G1000. Where does it say track?
Track, well, you're going to get that on any GPS. It'll say it on an MFD. It's up here in the top bar, and it'll be up here as track. All the new ones also, on the heading indicator, have this little purple diamond that kind of floats around. That purple diamond is your track. So once your students, don't teach your students about the purple diamond until they're doing approaches. Otherwise they'll just cheat the whole time, because you can't turn that stupid thing off. But the purple diamond, all you got to do is when I'm tracking like a VOR, all I got to do is, boom, needle centered. I just line the purple diamond up with my course. So let's say I've got a wind correction angle, needle centered, okay, on my HSI, the needle centered. Here's my heading,